Hey there. Welcome to my second match of season 49 here against Jonts. I'm rolling a lot of shepherd boards this season, which it's fine, I guess. Not my favorite card. Fortunately, here we have shelters. Shepherd is less appealing. A little less appealing right off the bat. We don't have much in the way of villages, which makes Wild Hunt probably not such a big deal. I think you're a little more likely to just be going for haggler into province stuff pretty quickly. I like the pixie. I mean, I think it's probably just double pixie, though you could do an armory. Let me get a 5 here. If I'm lucky. I mean, I'll go for it. You could buy I could have bought a silver, which would make the 5 here a little more likely. Wouldn't have been unreasonable at all. Maybe should have been junk dealer, I'm not sure. We bottom deck haggler. Pretty unfortunate. Because otherwise we're looking at a pretty good draw here. I mean, this is still a good boon. Just could have been very good instead of just pretty good. Well, I mean, we still wouldn't have hit 5 and trash, so I'll probably just buy another pixie here. I don't know, it would have hit 5 and trash. Yeah, so bottom decking the haggler hurts quite a bit, but I mean, I say that it hurts in the sense that I would have liked to have it. It doesn't hurt in the sense that my position has gotten bad or anything like that. I'm still in a quite good spot. Necromancer seems fine, but not not like overwhelmingly good. So should I get a junk dealer here? Still have quite a few coppers that would be reasonable to trash. Isn't the best draw ever. Feel a little bit ahead, but not hugely. I think there were some shuffles. Well, I mean, okay, like conditional on me receiving Wind's gift, which in and of itself was not super likely. But conditional on that, there were some shuffles I think where I run pretty far away. I don't know if Jonts is just like going right into the like gonna buy an estate, like the shepherd is a little weird to me. Um, with no, I guess they're gonna, I don't actually know. Why do you top deck a shepherd? I'm pretty confused about that. Oh, you have pasture. Okay. I mean, that, alright, that's okay, I guess. I don't know if they're gonna go for like estates and stuff. Is that the plan for jonts? I feel like I'll still win. There are gonna be some shuffles though. Four is probably pretty nice. maybe not super consequential. I don't know. Okay, he keeps it and just runs with it. These are almost all. I could get some shepherds, but I think I'll just go ahead here. Still have the. I could get a necromancer. Wouldn't be unreasonable. I'm trying to think. Like necro copper, I guess, down in the bottom here. It's a bit interesting the differences in the decks right now. C is really nice. I mean, maybe Johnson didn't take it, but. John's got the silvers, but still does not feel that close to provincing to me. Has a lot of pixies left though. These are all the pixies. We can see all the pixies right now. You click trash. So it ends up taking win, but doesn't take C, which is a little bit weird given the amount of I don't know. They're gonna add a. I don't know. They need some way to get. I'm not sure. They're gonna buy an estate. Yeah. I mean, this could backfire. It can work out very well for jonts. I will go ahead and blow up. I don't need to do this yet. And if we'd hit, or I don't need to do it at all. We can draw both these, I guess. We're gonna need to get a good shepherd. We're gonna need to get shepherd ourselves. It'll be apprentice the necro. You have enough pixies and estates, whatever, you might as well. It still feels like jonts is a ways from provincing. Though, of course, if the draw comes together, it can happen. But it's like super playing a shepherd estate thing, which is fine, but has some downsides, potential downsides. You could try another haggler. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Okay. It'd be kind of nice to use the artificer to get shepherd while drawing up maybe some of the twos. Could blow this up. How much money did I have? I had 8 exact. I'm not gonna play the junk dealer. It's not clear this does a whole lot for me. what's left? Golden Haggler. So I pretty much just play them. It's actually kind of an annoying. We can gain a card with Artificer, but it's not. Like we can get an estate, but it's a little bit questionable. Excuse me. To put the estate on top. Probably not necessary at this stage. I'm gonna save the junk dealer for hitting Necromancer. Okay. It was big. I mean, 3 provinces is going to be pretty tough. I'll be able to get. Yeah, I mean, they're just running the same thing, which is like fine, but not especially good. Again, it doesn't really get me anything. Same thing now again as last time. I can have an estate on top. Which seems a little bit iffy, but I mean, I can get. We don't have 4 cards to spare. This is definitely questionable. But we weren't in this instance punished for it. And I think jonts is like suddenly gonna have a deck where they draw a billion cards with Shepherd and can Artificer a million things. Like, at least I sure hope not. They still have 2 coppers. Like it's more like the shepherds get played as labs than as super duper labs. But that's pretty super. They're run. I mean, if they get some armory stuff. The armory stuff is for sure nice. That's nice. um, how many cards are in the discard? There are 2. This was maybe a wrong order. Well, I guess it doesn't matter actually if I'm just gonna do the stop and go for it thing. Whatever that means. So, because if I discard those, I draw 6. But there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, too many. There'd be 7 cards. There'd be a chance of. We each have a pixie. Uh-oh. Maybe I'm greedy. Good shepherd start. Ooh, nice wisp. I mean, I may be dead here. I may just end up artificing a duchy. Probably will lose eventually, but I don't know if Chance is like checking for wins. There's all the coppers now. That shepherd was not very big relative to what I would have thought off a 6-card draw and then an estate find on Wisp. That's smaller than I would have expected. The bad thing about these shepherd green, like this hand, if I don't find a shepherd, then the next turn, the shepherds may be drawn without the green, right? And so you just dud in a new way. Which isn't good. Earth was potentially nice if he had drawn really well. If he'd drawn really well, Earth might have been able to pile out. He's going for it. I guess he has enough drawn hand that he thinks You can get that. This could easily fail on dud though. I didn't, so they'll double province and well 9 doesn't do it. They would have to double province, but this should be enough cards. Yeah, that'll be enough cards. Alright, GG. Well, at least I didn't lose off the dud. I don't know, that maybe is worse. That I just... Okay, I mean, I guess I kind of just lost off Urskiff find. I don't know exactly what they had in hand for this reshuffle, but it could have missed, I'm pretty sure, because they didn't draw a whole lot of cards. I don't know if they had a shepherd. If they already had a shepherd in hand, then it's not really very likely to miss. Pretty interesting board though. John's definitely played a little more of it than me. I don't know. Again, I mean, his deck is certainly more well, okay, he's top decking shepherd, so it's not super exposed to draws, but it feels like with a lack of trashing. Jonts is rushing me. Got places to be, people to beat at Dominion other than me. Well, okay. This is like one of those boards. I don't know what I mean by that. Pretty fast, but then also someone can just salt. Like you can like be displaced for a couple provinces and then you just like salt the rest. I think you go Silver Ironmonger. I think hitting 5 is too important. I guess you could go wreck. I don't know. You could go like full Ironmonger. You're getting the silver off of the coin anyway, but this isn't. I mean, the next hand is like all but guaranteed to hit 5. Ooh. Cool. I'm down. This is definitely one of those where you think about, oh, maybe I just... I don't know, I mean, you could easily take war first even if you plan on getting upgrade. There's a lot of nice, demands a horse. Interesting. Or demands an ironmonger, I should say. I still want the 5s. I can see myself demanding at some point, but good draws for me. I'm not gonna take a silver this time. I guess I ought to get a wharf into the reshuffle. Though there is some appeal to getting... this is gonna miss actions, I'm afraid. Maybe it won't. That would have been the reason to go for... There's 3 actions in here and I see 2 cards. I don't know what that works out to be. Okay, good enough for me. I'm gonna just draw King's Court dead. I don't know, the upside of finding like a wharf just felt too high to ignore. So I have 1, 4, 10. Like I can get 2 market squares, or I can get 2 market squares in a King's Court, or I can get a Ironmonger in a King's Court, which obviously the Ironmongers are a fair bit nicer. I mean, they're not hugely nicer, just because Ironmonger's mostly cantrip anyways, or not cantrip, like peddler. So it's kind of nice to up the action density in this deck at the moment, just because it's not super high. This is pretty bad. Well, pretty bad is... it's fine. Obviously, it's not what I wanted, but it's fine. The displace would be pretty good. Feel like... this is pretty scary. Maybe it should just be Wharf. Maybe I should have got Wharf first. Well, the hope, of course, is that we can... I guess gain in play isn't super likely. Someone's gonna have a good enough turn and just like run piles. Here in just a couple turns. And I probably should have gotten more draw and just used the upgrade. Um, I mean, we should at least try to find another King's Court. Before we start messing with this stuff. Okay. Okay. This may be good enough to win. I don't know. I gotta think this through though, unfortunately. We can get a King's Court here. I don't know if we're guaranteed to draw it in time. Well, in time is... We displace... Okay. If jonts is not... jonts can't pile out. Should be okay. I think that's the fear. Yes, that would be my fear. And I can get another King's Court even, but... I don't necessarily need it to be able to win the next turn. guess the scarier thing is if jonts just gets like $32. Maybe that's scary. I don't think jonts will make $32, but maybe I could have made $32. I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm very scared. Maybe I don't need to be, but I am nonetheless. Okay. All right, we're good. I don't think they can do it without a king. They don't have the kings. They don't have a displace. This is their only upgrade. Okay, yeah, we're totally fine. Yeah, this is yeah. Okay. I was probably too paranoid. I probably could have gotten another King's Court, but I don't know. I didn't need it. I could have emptied the piles for sure with what I had in my deck, so. And easily too. Well, either 3-pile or I could have emptied provinces via salt plus displace stuff. Like it wasn't gonna be a problem for me to end the game on my turn. This is like you can do a little village smithy stuff here or whatever. How much that like does for you versus just like taking the promises one at a time. I don't know. Probably does enough. But it's not totally clear because there's not all VP and then there's not all VP and there's not like a good attack. Like I think the idol is slow enough that they can pretty much handle it with church. Though I guess depending on how simplistic they're playing it, the idol curses could be a little bit of a pain. So yeah, it's a little interesting. This is one of those where the build versus not build isn't, or that there's sort of a range between building and not building. And it's not really clear that you can probably win along a lot of that dimension, I would say, just depending on how your draws go. But I do think Gear Church is like pretty reasonable opening. I think as long as you see one of the orange cards, you're pretty happy. Maybe Church first is better. I'm not totally sure on that, but or maybe Gear first is better. I guess Gear first guarantees you see both of them in the shuffle, and Church first you could potentially still bottom deck Gear, which would be sad. Anyway, we both find an orange card. Jonts may have found both, I don't know. He did find both. I don't know if that's how you. I'd have to think about the options, but I don't. Maybe getting a 3-buy makes it important to play the Gear. It feels a little strange, but because you're not getting. I mean, you're not getting a 5 this way. So. There is that downside. I guess you don't get a 5 unless you decide to set aside more stuff. Like I can do 2 coppers, but I could do 2 coppers and ride. I don't know how important it is to hit a 5 right off the bat versus getting, say, another church or another Gear. I'm not totally clear on that. I mean, I guess minimally I can. Well, it really depends on how badly I want to try and hit 5 right now. well, hitting 5 right then was not gonna happen. I mean, it could have happened, but I wasn't gonna go for that. What I meant to say something different, but who knows what it was. We don't find the bandit camp, which is not great, but whatever. We'll probably live it. This is okay. I didn't mean to do it like this, but pretty bad unless we get drawn into eat this. So that helps. I don't know, he's a little up tempo. Well, just first player probably mostly. We have pretty much. I have a church. In fact, I even have a buy relative to him, don't I? They certainly have a little bit of a spoils lead. I don't know, if you hit like 13, it's kind of nice, but I mean, I guess you probably build to double. Idle feels like it probably is pretty bad for jonts versus my deck. Just another council room even. I don't know. I'm not sure you need like that much draw. This is. We really only need 10. I guess 3 buys if you have $15 is probably pretty good. Okay, no, we need 10, so we just keep the spoils. 8, we just need to keep 2 coppers. I guess you don't have to play the council room every time either. Like super overdraw though. Oh, both their gears were on that turn. Interesting. Maybe I should have gone like Province Bandit Camp. I probably should have just gone. I probably should have. It could have still been a double. 2 bandit camps in church. It's interesting. I'm not gonna trash the estate just yet because there's not a super good reason to. Wonder if we can save up to double or to triple. I wonder if we can save spoils. We have 7. We can save a spoils this turn. This is pretty nice. Because triple would be pretty good threat. Now we wouldn't be there the next turn, but maybe the turn after that. I don't know if jonts is at triple or will be. They have lots of bandit camps. They have 5 bandit camps. That's $15 in and of itself. They may be able to save the spoils. It's like we just finagle to see who can do quad, maybe. It's possible. You can set aside enough spoils and stuff. I think I can do. I mean, I can do double and double duchy while going in debt. But I don't know if that's gonna cut it. The debt may be a little too heavy a price to pay there before it's the last turn. Because I should have $22. I do kind of, this is pretty interesting with the orange cards and the spoils as a way of like complicated coffers or something. It's like choosing how to distribute your money across a few turns. I wonder if it would have worked out better for me if I'd moved on the... I don't think jonts will have quad the next turn. So if I can get... Or even triple isn't so scary if I have some duchies here. If I can threaten triple eventually. At least. I'll have to figure out what this... I don't know how many spoils there are in the spoils pile. Gain the spoils, gain 2, 3, 4, 5. Like if they had none previously, which I don't know. They probably have 2 spoils saved, or 2 spoils. Plus 5, 15 is 21. No, I don't think quad. is in the book, or is in the possibilities, but triple certainly is. I cannot touch the provinces here. Is double duchy okay? Is double duchy enough against triple? I may have to play the council room, to be honest. If I go double duchy and Jonts goes triple, may even go. Well, he can only go triple. We each have 3 buys. Jonts goes triple, they go 31. I'm at 19. I can tie. Maybe that's the best I can hope for here. Probably could have trashed one of the curses. I think I can tie. Maybe I count wrong. There's probably. We'd have to go back and look at the estate trashes. But there may very well have been a turn where the estate trashing was. I mean, the other thing I can go for there is play the council room and do double duchy estate. Something like that. It just felt a little bit risky as far as drawing versus not drawing. But it certainly was an option. I don't know if Jonts had just like a nightmare draw or what exactly the decision point is here. Guess it's possible they're thinking about a trash, though that seems a little unlikely to me. I could also dud on my turn. I have the bandit camp. But I don't. So I'm gonna see quite a few cards, but I could still bottom deck more bandit camps, especially depending on how many council rooms Jonts plays. My hope is just that Jonts doesn't have $32, I guess. Or he can't. He only has 3 buys. We already talked about this. We already covered this in the discussion. I think Jonts is just gonna offer a tie. Yeah. And I think I'll probably just take it. I don't need very much money to do this. Yeah, so like the more aggressive thing would have been to play the council room and get another green card. Which, well, how much money did I have? I couldn't have taken. The thing is, I would have lost threat of triple, right? Because I was only at 25. I was only at 25. I mean, it would have prolonged the game basically. Like it wouldn't have been a lock for me because I wouldn't have had enough. I wouldn't have had enough money if I'd taken a stake because I would have taken a spoils play or would have required a spoils play. So I'm not sure that there was a. I would have had to deviate from what I did sooner, I guess. Like maybe when I talked about, like there was when I could have done like province 5 on a turn. And maybe that would have greened fast enough to put more pressure on him. Or just make the, like if I province and if I can double, even if I'm not super likely to double again, it may make his buys a little awkward. Though he may also just decide to go for it, at whatever point it is, and just see how that goes for him. I guess you can do sculptor feed. I don't know. There's not like a lot to do here. Remake's not especially good due to the openings are pretty awkward. I think you would do remake pretty easily with estates, but with shelters, there's like a gainable too. Like mode is not crazy. But it's a little bit questionable. Maybe I'll do it. I think 2 moats is not too wild. And I also hit the 5, which is really nice. I guess you could try it. Like I can trash OE to moat and trash copper and then buy a state and have a hovel, or have an estate instead of hovel, which is a little nicer remake target. Whether that's super needed, I'm not sure. But it is another way we could play this. Just gets another remake. It's like that versus getting another silver right now. I mean, this many motes is probably not super good. You may never see the estate with the remake, though, also. Like, I mean, might be a long time before you do. I'll try it. It's the more fun thing. Jonts gets another. Like, am I just doing this forever? Maybe getting a skulk at some point to get. I mean, at some point you're gonna want to get a. This is not a crazy point to think about. Doing it like this. Not super wild about the innovation. Not that it's bad, but I don't think they'll ever be worth more than provinces. Innovation does feel a little slow to me. Maybe that should have been a sculptor again. I don't know. Capital is a little weird to me. Jonts only has 2 feet on, I think. Actually, Jonts may have 0 feet on. I've been bad omens, which is actually not so bad here. What does haunting do? We're not hitting province, but that's okay. We're up by 24 points, so 3 points doesn't really make much of a difference. Obviously, I hit 5 on my reshuffle. Like that's gotta, that's gotta be like way better than not hitting 5 on your reshuffle. I don't know. I wasn't paying so close attention to their shuffles to know what else went. But obviously, it wasn't particularly close. The innovation tricks are kind of cute, but not any good. I mean, it's not making a difference. No, I don't think. I could be wrong. Particularly off relative to Sculptor, it's not like it's basically saving you an action. It's not even like plus card. So then it's not. You have to skip a Sculptor to do it, and so you just kind of tax the stockpiles. That'd be kind of funny. I don't know. Oh, they have a 5-2. You probably can do something with. You can probably do something with Grave Robber here. I don't think. I mean, they can tax the stockpiles. I don't think it hurts me at all. I guess I can counter tax like the minions, but Gear's pretty nice anyway. If I had the hovel in the other hand, I might think about planning first, but as it is, it doesn't seem that good. I do want to plan something. Anything you plan, you have a pretty good shot of not buying that many of them. They may just buy more of them before they're gone. Like you can plan minions though. Again, I don't have. Don't really have the. Having a lot of conclaves is probably not gonna super work out either. Just because the sequencing isn't very good for it. You'll have some conclaves for sure. But it's not a. I mean, if you think you can buy 3 of them, though, that's probably still worth it. The problem with the conclave, of course, is that it does not hit. You could put it on cherry race, which is a little bit safer. As far as spammability. Though you don't really want them right now, so that's also a problem. It can also just be a lot of gears. That's also not crazy. You could play with 4 gears here and be relatively happy. This is very hard to me. You're gonna have to use Grave Robber to gain stuff. Looks like I should. I didn't know I was triggering. Actually, I thought to myself, oh, I don't need to. I thought to myself that I don't need to do the Necro because there wasn't anything I could draw that I would want to play again. But of course, that was just totally wrong. It would have been really nice actually to get another buy-in here and maybe 2 set-asides as a way to get to 5. But since we messed it up, we just have to live with it. I don't know that there's really a tax that I think is incredibly valuable for me. At least I don't know what it would be. Maybe Conclave. That was a pretty big mistake to not play Necro there. I honestly didn't think I was. For some reason, I thought there were 2 cards left in the shuffle. Anyway, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but. I'll probably buy Grave Robber here. And then go to like Grave Robber and Gears and buying Gears. Something like that. This is a friendly. Jonts couldn't have known, but it was a friendly. There are a few things I could do here. But I'll do this. The chariot races could be a problem. I need a throne room pretty bad. I mean, that's just bad luck. I can't I can't really do anything about that, but they'll probably buy a grave robber. I do need a throne. Stockpile's kind of interesting. Okay. Well, this will do me some good. Well, can't do anything about that. Yeah, I probably should have put the plans on those. On the chariot races. Need another throne or like a conclave. Fortunately, I guess we're even-ish on trashing. Well, Jonts is a little better trashing. Like I can get a trash here, I just also... Maybe we do it. This is the kind of the problem we're running into now. Yeah, I think if I put... Well, okay. I mean, there was just some asymmetries in the decks anyway, so I don't know how it played out, but I think I would feel better with the... feel better with the plans on the... Now I'm gonna get... I am getting beat up by the chariot races in ways that don't feel entirely maybe it's not that weird. It's probably not really that weird. That hand getting that hand getting hit by the minion does really hurt. I also like. Yeah, and then the throne's gonna get hit again. It's whether the throne gets hit, unfortunately, is like super huge for me. It's like super, super huge for me. But that's just how it goes. This time maybe I'll get a friendly. Not, I mean, you know, sort of friendly. Hero's super lucky on the chariot races. I don't know if this is right. That's sad. Okay. It's unfortunate, but probably better than I deserve. Okay. What am I even... grave robbering into here? Well, that's pretty good, actually. Maybe it should have been planned on the drones. Do leave minion. May not be good. Well, we both sort of have decks now. Mine is worse, but probably worse. I don't know, I can do some stuff this turn. It would be really good. What was tossed? Grave Robber was tossed. I was gonna say it would be really good to throw in Grave Robber this turn if possible. But that seems not impossible, but like a bit of a hard sell. Oh no, I have a third throne. I have 3 throne rooms. Okay. These cherry races, this cherry race may hit again. In fact, it was guaranteed to hit once. Okay. Well, we didn't hit this with any, we could do this. I mean, like, what are we gonna buy? Just another gear? Man, come on. How many are even in the deck? 3? There's like, no, I have 2 set aside, no, 1 set aside. I don't know, I guess there's some in the deck, but that's killer. This is also, well, I'm probably gonna get discarded into like a throne room, so it's probably okay, but we're also getting close to 3 piles. This is brutal actually. This particular cherry race sequence was brutal. I guess I could have set aside more coppers and just not set aside minion. That was a possibility. That's brutal. That's just so brutal. I got a couple. I'm actually not totally clear on why I got beat up this bad in the game. I got a couple of pretty bad minion discards, I guess. Probably did it. I mean, I think it's clear that I could have made different choices as far as like the plan target and stuff. It's not so clear to me how much that would have helped, but well, this is just so bad. Also, I'm pretty likely to not even find like a throne room necessarily. This is rough. This is extremely rough. Basically requires like at least 1 dud from jonts, maybe 2. And he's ahead, so he can just buy minions and be like robust against dudding. There's no I might get another throne room as jonts over a minion, but still, you can just take a minion. I mean, I guess we have a copper or cherry race is also totally fine, but yeah, like this is okay. We did find throne room, so there's that. I mean, there's a point where I have to take provinces to try and catch up, but it won't make a lot of difference. This is also like there's gotta be coppers on top. I mean, this was my hope, was that I would set aside the coppers. But there, I mean, this was like an 8-point turn or something. That was ridiculous. I don't mean ridiculous and lucky, just ridiculously good for jonts. There's still more coppers. Like I can try and get to the point where there's another chariot race in here, I think. That may not be the case. I'm not totally clear on what the last card is here. I'm also about out of apparently it was simply a copper. Womp womp. I mean, it's easy to get the decks to a point where the chariot races are not that threatening. Or not crazy. Like this turn they're just not, but kind of doesn't matter if it happens that late for me. Which is the issue. Maybe I should have just bought another gear there. Not sure. Yeah, so unfortunately come out of this down by 11 points and not like no particular advantage as far as greening goes. With jonts having enough gains to threaten pile outs in not too long of a time. So should be easy cleanup for jonts. But with minion, you kind of want to stick around and play it out. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 coppers. Do they have 3 still? I think. There's some way you can gain, or it's not too hard to like guarantee chariot race hits later on. There are a few different tricks you can do to make it likely or guaranteed. Yeah, Jonts doesn't have to take provinces yet. You can just go like, I don't know if they'll get their stockpiles. I don't know if they have the draw to do that. But they might. So they may go with like a chariot race into a stockpile. I don't know, they don't have a huge amount of money here, so the stockpiles, and of course stockpiles in and of themselves give a pretty decent amount of money, so. Yeah, I don't exactly know what he has in hand, but he probably has another minion. Oh, just didn't even have any actions to play the Grave Robber on. Maybe it was a minion. Well, you would use the minion. I mean, you would probably just take the money. I mean, you don't need the money necessarily, but I guess. Well, the gear. Yeah, the gear is 2 cards set aside, so what they have in hand isn't guaranteed or anything. Putting the stockpiles in deck is a little risky. To be perfectly honest. Because it's bad for your chariot races. And it's just bad for the kind of deck you have. I think Jonts is far enough ahead that you don't need to do that. You can just... I would just play for turns where I can gain the stockpiles back and then draw them right then. I don't think I would spend a lot of time This is a pretty terrifying sequence. See, the issue is if we don't hit throne, we can't like start with you know, some gear like if we have throne here, we're in a good shape because we can do set aside the 4 coppers and then discarding stuff becomes much more flexible. But this kind of doesn't work. What we probably have to do is just do money on both minion plays. Because we really need to get the gears. We also just end up with a lot fewer actions, unfortunately. I don't know if this will even work out at all. Okay, this now is doing a little bit. I don't know what our... Oh, I did have 4 minions. Well, that's good. I don't know what the world looks like where I take the... I mean, John Skin did add the... I think I just saw what was on John's gear briefly. Maybe that was a visual bug. We'll have to check the tapes. Oh yeah, that's weird. He did it again. Now I don't know if it is what he had, but we'll have to. That's interesting. Remember this timestamp. What time is it? 1:51:15. Okay. So what is in the trash right now? Nothing gainable. well, so much for that. I've been getting beat up by Minion. Just straight up. Wait, discard Throne Room Minion, Grey Robber, 2 Chariot Races into this. I don't know. I mean, that's what the attack does, right? But there's only the three provinces that are like full stop cards. I mean, the gears are if we don't pair them with Throne and a cantrip or double Throne, something like that. So it's not nothing, but I don't think I only lost 1 minion while I did the triple, so I think triple would have been possible again if I had been lucky. So I don't think jonts could really take another one. Though to be honest, even triple here would be very like from this point, if all jonts does is like build a little bit more or take a duchy or something, even triple here for me would have been very difficult for jonts to deal with unless he got a really lucky chariot race. Or a bunch of lucky chariot races. So I was not actually in that bad of a spot. I mean, jonts didn't get everything this turn, but he also put those stockpiles in his deck, which was, I think, really bad. Maybe going for... I don't know what he's going for now. Next time jonts might try /undo. It's like even this, you know, it's like pretty rough for jonts if I triple. Now, me tripling is a little hard, but not that hard. I did triple, didn't I? Yeah, and like, now, of course, I go nowhere, so it doesn't matter. But, what do you set aside here? Like, just do Throne Minion. I mean, you risk the coppers, of course, ending up on top. There is a real world where I win this, actually. Now it's not a world that exists anymore, but I'm not sure there's really a friendly tax for me either. Or a tax that matters at all. Yeah, of course. There's 2 coppers, and of course it's on top of the deck. Gosh. So mad. Okay, at least the rest of them. They got 1. As far as sequences go, it was actually quite favorable to me, but you know me, I have to complain. Now, if only I had a cherry race in hand, right? Yeah, that would be something. This was actually pretty good to get tossed. Run chariot race is nice to see. I think jonts can probably double pretty easily, and that's going to be a little bit awkward for me to come back from. Jonts may be able to triple pretty easily, I don't know. If jonts can triple, then I'm not going to beat that. Like, there aren't enough points on the board. Or not for me to get anyway. But double, I could potentially just get it right off. And there's still a kind of outside chance that I make the triple on my turn. It'll be hard though. I don't know that any of it's especially likely. The problem, of course, is that I probably need to toss all of this rather than doing the gear stuff. Which is unfortunate. Maybe we can find out what's on his gear if I do this. How did I make it happen? I'm trying to hack. Yeah, because you don't really want... You don't even really want to play the second minion here that much. I guess one thing you could try... I mean, I could delay as well. Jonts didn't really move anywhere, right? So I don't have to... that's interesting. Now there is a chance that I'm opening myself up for getting 3 piled on, but let's play it that way actually. I have definitely opened myself up to 3 pile possibilities. That's pretty clear. Does a conclave help? Sometimes the actions get a little awkward. Can't wait till the 5th card is a copper. I can take throne, but again, jonts doesn't need much to pile. I mean, jonts doesn't need much to pile out anyway. So getting beat up by the cherry races again. Jones can throw a grave robber with action cards in hand now, then he can win. Or I guess potentially gain a stockpile and draw into enough of them. I don't know. I don't know how likely that all is. I do have a pretty good... I can't conclave throne rooms either. I did kind of limit my conclave options, but that's okay. Conclave chariot race is alright too. Well, I'll always have conclave grave robber, to be honest, so... It doesn't have any... Now I can't do it. He has 3 buys now. He's out of grave robber plays. He also didn't score anything with his grave robber plays, so... And it's really hard to take province also, because I can triple and I'll beat that. You also take the... I don't know that the tax money matters so much for that consideration, but... We have some weird chances here. Again, triple province would be a little awkward for Jones to beat, depending on the cherry race hits. Potentially very easy if they get the cherry race hits, but... I'm also not too far away from having a win in hand, I guess. Well, okay, that's not exactly how you would put it, but... Because if I can throne... Province is enough. What is in the trash now? Nothing still. I think we start with this still. Okay, jonts reveals a minion. I don't need the chariot race points, but I might need the chariot race itself to trash. That's gonna be my problem, right? Is getting 4 action cards in hand while I have, yeah, that's gonna be too tall of an order. Almost certainly. I have 4 thrones though. So I wonder if you throne the gear now. I mean, you would still like to throne if possible. I don't know. Okay. If we had throne, we'd be looking at something, but this is not. I think the actions are going to end up being a problem. We need, we do need $2 to be in position. This sucks. We had to, it was going to be so hard anyway. In all seriousness, it was just not going to be likely to happen. Let me look at this though. What can we get maximally here? I mean, we could try to get a province. Yeah, this is bad. What's even left? We have 3 provinces. So it's 2 provinces and a throne room. And probably like a gear. No, there's a minion. 2 provinces, throne room, minion, something else. I don't know if attacking them is worth or not. This is so bad. I just have to delay again, which doesn't do anything for me. We can add grave robbers so that we have more 5s as targets. We probably need to take a province. maybe. And we need jonts to have some kind of badness. We could just add a grave robber. I mean, what are we doing? Like, if we get province, then we open up triple. If we don't, I mean, how much dud do we need from them? If we don't get province, this is a little bit easier. Getting province doesn't actually make this much harder. The throne room chariot race pile out. So that's not so exciting. It really needs to just find like throne room grave robber once and like I don't know, this is not gonna do anything for me. Most likely jonts is tripling. I don't even know, duchy probably does next to nothing for me. Oh well. It makes the chariot races a little bit worse. Of course I have that. I don't find anything. Yeah, this is... Again, I mean, you may not be able to pile out immediately, it depends, but... I've not been shuffled in... Well, at this point, but I've not been shuffled into throne in a long time, which is, I guess, not super likely, but... So I'm gonna just have to discard this hand, and then... well, if I get a play, anyway. Jones hasn't played as grave robbers yet, so... Oh, he doesn't have the points. Though, potentially could get the points. Yeah, I mean, Chance does have minions still, so there's some chance that he triples. I really do wonder, like, what did I have left at the end of my deck? I didn't have a lot of actions. I didn't really have enough grave robber fuel to make the double throned grave robber pile out very likely. That's 4 action. You have to have 4 action cards in your hand plus 4. I mean, you have to have an 8 card hand with at least an 8 card size hand with 8 action cards in it for that pile out to work. And you need to have $3. Well, I needed to have $4. So that's obviously your hope would be that you sequence it around like minion discards, but still it's a pretty tough sell. Like you would hope to go like Throne Room Graveyard, minion for the province, gear for the part of my issue was I had Part of my issue was that I had the what am I trying to say? That I had the two grave robbers in the hand together. So that was gonna be always tough. Look at this stupendous and what is like duchy, and I mean I need 14 points to tie. Guess we'll do this. It's like if all the chariot races hit, then I only need 10 points. All the chariot races did hit, so that's something. I don't have buy. I wonder if I conclave. I mean, we gotta just play the grave robber now, right? Even though it doesn't really help much. I mean, it's still not a very likely finish. But we're kind of getting to the point where it can happen. And if we find grave robber with grave robber, then we have a tie. We find that with a copper, we have a win. We actually got really, really close. We really got very, very close. Because the bottom four is, I got another grave robber, right? I mean, this was unlikely to even reach this stage, but maybe I didn't add another grave robber. Maybe it was impossible. Well, I guess, yeah, we didn't have enough money. I think it was impossible, actually. Well, that wouldn't have been the turn. I was gonna say there was also like a triple province thing or something, or not a triple province thing, a triple like a triple duchy line where I score enough, but that isn't actually, enough to win. Anyway, I did discard them into something, so there's some really bizarre world where they don't have grave robber with a vibe, I guess. It's not especially likely, but I don't think this should have been this close. To be honest, I think jonts probably was in a winning. I mean, he didn't lose, so I can't really claim that he threw it. That wouldn't be accurate. He won the game. But it certainly felt like this is a pretty kind of cruddy board. I feel like I'm gonna like ignore procession and somehow get beat up for it, even though I don't think it's much or any better than just trying to get thin and buy platinums and buy colonies. I mean, there's like procession armory stuff you can do, but what do you end up with? Oh, there's horses. Never mind. I didn't see the horses. That's my excuse. I don't know if it's a reasonable one, but okay. Not my favorite draw of all time, but I guess I could have goaded instead of setting aside. Maybe that would have been better there. Oh yeah, I should have done that. Well, there was a chance of drawing a chapel, so it's not like not totally clear. Um Eventually you have to play an armory. Or you could buy, I guess you could buy prison. There's also some Wayfair armory stuff, which is a little awkward because I don't ever know how Wayfair stuff works. Jonts is just getting the, which is reasonable. There's a horse on top, so this is a pretty easy top deck armory play. By Peddler, I think. I mean, you don't have to buy Peddler. You could buy something else, but there's no reason not to top deck the Peddler. But whatever, I just didn't do it. I guess I want to live on the wild side or something. I'm not really. It's not totally clear to me what that means. But Johnson's gonna need to. Oh, they didn't replace their sleigh, so that's a little unfortunate for Johns. You don't have to proc a lot here either, necessarily. We're gonna want to just set aside the armory, I think. We're gonna need to play the sleigh. The question is, what do we buy? There could be another sleigh already. Versus the peddler. Obviously, we get to trash another copper if we don't. We're probably ready for another sleigh. I guess you can do vineyard. I mean, you could still get up to like money to do a colony thing. Most likely the piles just kind of fly. How good this turn is depends a lot on when the procession shows up, or one of the processions. I think it's probably vineyard for the little bit of points you score before you pile out. Just the Wayfarer silver thing is like John's gonna have to rebuy Slay here. Buys a peddler, okay. Well, that confuses me, to be honest, because you do need a source of horses. I mean, you can armory for it later too, so it's not crazy, but okay. This is very good. I'm just gonna get a lot of processions. Could do procession, but I don't care that much about getting the fives. Maybe I should. I can also pretty much empty the processions here, which is probably pretty good. Oh, I guess I can't quite open them. I should have, well, this is okay. Well, that was probably not played totally cleanly. There's not a 3. Like, there's not even... I can get rid of the chapel, though, which I don't necessarily need. Or I don't really need the chapel. I mean, there's some world where the chapel can be proc to get a Wayfarer, but... I should have played it as the goat. That would have been a little more exciting. Jonts has to get a sleigh, though. As I've said previously. I don't think he can pile. And then he won't have any processions, really. I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to mess up the pile out. I'm also a little bit worried about getting hit by a... John's 0 horses, right? I have all the horses. Did you lose a horse? Okay. I think losing a procession would have been worse. I'm trying to think if I can empty piles here. I don't have an armory, right? I also don't have to empty piles. Since Jonts has like 2 processions and maybe 3. The Jonts also doesn't really have pile threat. If I can gain a lot of actions and buy a vineyard, then I'm in pretty good shape. Though if I can win, I would like to. But it's at least 11 games. Well, more than that, at least. It seems a little bit Tough. Could get the armories for sure. Basically just whether I have enough to do the the havens and the werewolf as well. Well, I think the peddler is probably not getting cantripped. Or not getting processioned. This is so... Every procession play represents a gain, and then... I don't know if it works if I just go for it. Like, I don't know if I can stack out the draw to a point where it's friendly to me. I don't know, and stack out the set up the draw. I mean, I could even just dud. Well, dudding here is pretty unlikely, but not impossible. We shouldn't play too afraid of jonts piling out. I don't think. I think that would be a mistake. We probably should try and get a potion. I don't want to do... Don't really want to go super far on the armories yet. Sounds a little silly, but... This could be wrong. Probably being super over paranoid. Miserable is pretty good. Diluted is probably not too important. Okay, procession on peddler is not scary. We maybe should have gone a little bit harder on the armories. Um, that was probably one more would have been okay. Probably there was a pile out. I'm a little confused on the counting with the procession to processions of exactly how many gains you end up with off of it. It may be that emptying the werewolves is just like trivial. But I am at least like a little bit afraid of it for whatever reason. I definitely like underplayed my previous turn, but I think I basically just put myself in a point where I can more safely guarantee wins. Again, like the point gap here is pretty huge. Jonts doesn't have procession. Jonts has 2 processions. Jonts doesn't have 3 pile threat. Maybe it should be the werewolf. I guess it doesn't matter a whole lot. Should I just run it? The werewolves are a little bit lower. I think we just run it now. It's like either pile out or mostly pile out and have 15-point vineyards. Let's run it. Hopefully I don't lose track of can't remember. Is there another procession? How many processions, Johnson? Isn't there another one? Isn't the last card a procession, or am I wrong? Oh, it's vineyard, or it's not vineyard. It's whatever. It's yeah, that was okay. They're definitely interesting boards. So pretty happy to get 3.5 there, though. Obviously, there were a couple of close games. I don't even remember the first couple. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you later.